Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Missing Black Voices. I sound a little bit under the weather. It's because I'm battling a really bad cold. Thankfully, it's not COVID. But I just wanted to come on and thank all of my listeners who tuned in for the first episode. Thank you for liking, sharing, retweeting. I really, really appreciate the support. For this second episode, we are going to be going into the disappearance of Jasmaine Smith. And I had a couple of people ask me why I chose Alesha as the first episode of the podcast. And it's because I actually wanted to go into Jasmaine's story as the first episode. However, Jasmaine is missing and Alesha passed away at the hands of James E. Brooks, which is the same person who is a person of interest in Jasmaine's disappearance. So I couldn't tell Jasmaine's story without telling Alesha's story first. Either way, both of their stories were going to get told. It was just the dynamic of how I wanted to tell each of their stories. So going in, I hope you guys enjoy the second episode of Missing Black Voices, and I'm not going to hold it up anymore. This is the story of the disappearance of Jasmaine Smith. Jasmaine Michelle Smith, who was also called Jazzy by her friends and family, was born March 13th, 1993 in Pennsylvania. That week, the state had been slammed by a blizzard that almost lasted up to 2 days, and her mother, Danielle Richardson Wilder, remembered that she was a beautiful baby with a head full of hair, and how all of the nurses came from all around the hospital, and all of the neighbors came when she brought Jasmine home to come and see her because they had heard that there was just this beautiful baby and everybody needed to come and see her.
And I remember Jasmine, she was born with so much hair. Jasmine, not just because she's my child, she's the prettiest baby in the world. And she was born with so much hair. And it had got through the hospital that this little black girl up there got so much hair. And all the nurses from all over the hospital was coming up. Like, I couldn't even rest because all the nurses from all over the hospital was coming up to see this beautiful baby. Everybody kept saying, "We heard about this beautiful baby. We heard about this beautiful baby. We heard about this baby with all this hair. We heard about this baby with all this hair. We want to see her. We want to see her." And I remember I brought Jasmine home and the snow was up to my knees. And I remember everybody just wanted to come see Jasmine. Jasmine was popular from the day of her birth. She was the popular person.
Danielle said that her and Jasmine were super close, and that because Danielle had her at 16 and she was her firstborn, that Jasmine was like her little sister. And Danielle goes to tell this story about how they could argue and fight like cats and dogs, and Jasmine would leave out the house and come back and just ask her mom for $20 as if nothing happened, which is really funny because that reminds me of me and my mom's relationship. We will fuss and we will argue, and she will go to her corner and I'll go to my corner, and we'll wait like 15 minutes and she'll be like, "So, do you want to go get Starbucks?" And so I totally related to that story. And it was actually the reason why I wanted to tell Jasmine's story, because I could relate to their mother and daughter relationship so much. So on June 5th, 2015, Jasmine, who at the time was now 22, drove from Warren, Ohio to Farrell, Pennsylvania to join her family to celebrate her younger sister graduating high school. And if you're thinking because, it's two different states that it was a long drive, it wasn't. It was about 30 minutes across state lines. Once the party ended, Jasmaine left, and this would be the last time that anyone would see or hear from her again. It took about a week for Jasmaine's family to realize that something was wrong. Keep in mind, Jasmaine was an adult at the time of her disappearance. She was 22, and she was living by herself, which is why she wasn't immediately reported missing. And I don't know about you guys, I'm a little bit older than 22, not to tell my age, but there are periods of time that I may go, a week or two, maybe a week without speaking to my mom. I mean, I talk to her every day, but sometimes I get caught up with life. And, you look up and it's 7 days. However, after about a week and a half, that's when Danielle, her mother, started to call around to other family members to see if they had heard from her. When they all said they hadn't, that's when alarm bells started to go off. Just like in Alesha's case, it was extremely uncharacteristic for Jasmaine to go long without contacting her family. They continued to get in contact with Jasmaine for the following weeks, and when they were unable to, they reported her officially missing on June 29th, 2015. From last week's episode, Alesha was reported missing from Warren, Ohio on July 23rd, 2015, which was about a month and a half after Jasmaine disappeared. When Jasmaine's family heard about Alesha's remains being found in James E. Brooks' backyard, I can imagine all of the hairs on the back of their necks standing up. Jasmaine knew Brooks. Throughout my research, I couldn't find how or where Jasmaine met Brooks. I just found a quote from Jasmaine's mother saying, yes, she knew him. Some of her friends and associates of hers know him as well. A little over a year later, in 2016, a body was found in the town over, which many initially believed was Jasmaine's. It wasn't. Danielle said, you don't want this to be your child, but you do. Then you're happy when it's not. And unfortunately, guys, that's the last update on this case. But this is not the end of her story. At the time of her disappearance, Jasmaine was about 5'7" and weighed 145 pounds. She has brown eyes and black and brown hair. She has both of her ears pierced and several tattoos, which I'll be putting pictures up on the Missing Black Voices Instagram and Facebook page. The most notable tattoo is one located on her upper arm with the word Bubby inside of a heart. She also has a heart with an arrow tattooed on the corner of her right eye and the word loyalty on her throat. Authorities believe that Jasmaine may have been sold to human trafficking, given that she knew Brooks. And if you recall from Alesha's episode, Brooks did admit to being a part of a sex trafficking ring. They also believe that she may have ultimately suffered the same fate as Alesha. Either way, I find it disturbing that once again, Brooks was given only 8 years for his role in Alesha's death, which I went into on the first episode. But not only that, he's suspected of not only being involved in Jasmaine's disappearance, but several other women whose names I couldn't even find throughout my research, guys. I wish I could give you their names, but it's just hasn't been released to the public. Brooks was described by a county investigator as the most evil man that he'd ever met. And this man has only received 8 years for the death of one girl. Jasmaine is now 28 years old, and her family hasn't seen her in over 6 years. I said this in a previous episode about Alesha, but I'll say it again. Jasmaine was someone's sister, she was someone's daughter, and she was someone's friend. Somebody out there knows something about her disappearance. They know they might have seen her that day. I don't have any details on her car. That also has not been released to the public, but she didn't just disappear into thin air. Something happened to Jasmaine and she is out there. And I'll go into this video of Danielle who actually said the same thing.
Jasmaine is not a nobody. She's somebody's daughter. She's my daughter. She's somebody's sister. She's somebody's granddaughter, somebody's niece, somebody's friend, somebody's something. Jasmaine is somebody to everybody.
Jasmaine deserves to be reunited with her family, and her family deserves answers. I visited her Facebook page, and guys, it's like a freeze in time from 2015. She posted memes, pictures, and videos just like me and my friends did and still do. Not only does she deserve to be reunited with her family, her story deserves to be told way more than what is out there. I mean, in a world of Gabby Petito, Chandra Levy, Lacey Peterson, there is no reason why Jasmaine's story hasn't gone national. She's been missing for over 6 years, and it's really sad. And I wish I could have made this episode longer, but there's simply not enough information out there. Her name does come up in Alesha's case. Several times she is named, but other than that, it's very, very hard to find information. And my heart goes out to her mother because she has a missing Help Find Jasmaine page as well. And the clips that I have posted in this episode are from that page. And Danielle is heartbroken, and she really is trying to keep Jasmaine's name out there, but it's hard when you don't have the backing of national media.
My family is in turmoil. Like, it's just unbearable. When a piece of you is missing, a whole piece, this is my baby. I gave birth to her. I pray nobody ever has to go through what I'm going through. I don't know where she at. I don't know if she dead or alive. I can't move forward. I can't grieve. I can't be happy. I can't lay her to rest. I can't heal her if she comes back home. I can't do anything because I'm stuck in limbo. Somebody knows something.
If you have any information, please contact the Farrell, Pennsylvania Police Department at 724-983-2720. I'll see you guys next week. Stay safe and stay Black. The sources for this episode can be found down in the show notes. I wanted to give a special shout out to ourblackgirls.com. That is the website where I initially found the case of Jasmaine. They also have a lot of other cases featuring missing Black women. I wanted to ask you guys to please follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Missing Black Voices, as well as on Twitter at Missing BLK Voice. Thanks again, guys, and I will see you next week.